Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UCS Endeavour, watching the stars through the large front window. His ship had been traveling through deep space for 3 months, looking for new worlds that humans could live on. The year was 2387, and Earth needed more places for its growing population. "Captain, we're getting something strange on the sensors," said Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez from her station. She was the ship's communication officer, and she looked worried. Jake walked over to her station. "What kind of strange?" "Multiple objects coming toward us, sir. They're big, really big. And they're not moving like any ship we've ever seen." Jake felt his stomach drop. In all of human history, they had never met aliens. Earth scientists had always wondered if other life existed in the galaxy, but they had never found proof. Now, it seemed like proof was coming to find them. "How many objects?" Jake asked. 12 ships, sir. The largest one is almost 10 times bigger than our ship." Jake looked at the main screen as the computer showed what the sensors were seeing. The alien ships were beautiful and terrifying at the same time. They had smooth, curved shapes that seemed to flow like water, but they were made of metal that shone like silver. Strange lights pulsed along their sides. "Try to contact them," Jake ordered. "Use all frequencies." Amy worked at her station for several minutes. "Sir, they're responding. But it's not like any language we know. A computer is trying to translate." Suddenly, the main screen changed. An alien face appeared, and Jake's crew gasped. The creature had blue skin, 4 eyes, and what looked like tentacles where a human would have hair. When it spoke, its voice was translated into English by the computer. "Primitive vessel, you are in the territory of the Zephyrian Empire. I am Admiral Kextar of the Imperial Fleet. You will surrender your ship immediately." Jake stepped forward. "I'm Captain Jake Morrison of the United Colonial Ship Endeavour. We come in peace." "We didn't know this was your territory." The alien admiral made a sound that might have been laughter. "Peace? You speak of peace when you dare to enter Imperial space without permission? Your species will learn to obey, just as all others have learned." "Our species?" Jake asked. "You know about humans?" "We know about all species in this sector of the galaxy. We have been watching your primitive world for some time. You have technology, but you are weak. You fight among yourselves instead of working together. You will make good servants for the Empire." Jake felt anger rising in his chest. "We're not servants to anyone." "You will be," Admiral Kextar said. "Your planet has 72 hours to surrender. If you refuse, we will destroy your colonies and take your world by force. This is how the Empire has always grown. This is how it will always grow." The screen went dark. Jake looked around at his crew. They all looked scared, but they also looked angry. Humans didn't like being told what to do by bullies. "Amy, send a message to Earth immediately. Tell them what happened here. Tell them we need every ship we have." "Yes, sir." Jake turned to his pilot. "Tom, set course for the Titan defense platform. Maximum speed." "Sir," said his science officer, Lisa Park, "our weapons are no match for those ships. They have technology we've never seen." "Maybe," Jake said, "but they don't know humans very well. They think we're weak because we fight among ourselves. They don't understand that fighting makes us stronger." As the Endeavour raced toward human space, Jake thought about Earth. It was a beautiful blue world with billions of people who had never seen war on this scale. They had fought wars among themselves, but they had never faced an enemy from the Via Stars. The Empire thought humans were primitive. They thought humans would surrender easily. Admiral Kextar had conquered other species before, probably many of them. He expected humans to be like all the others, but Jake knew something the Empire didn't know. Humans were different. When humans were threatened, they didn't give up. They fought back. They found ways to win, even when winning seemed impossible. 3. Days later, Jake watched from the bridge as the alien fleet arrived at Earth's outer colonies. The Empire had brought massive ships, weapons that could destroy entire cities, and soldiers from a dozen different worlds. They expected an easy victory. Amy Rodriguez was now at the Titan defense platform, watching the same alien ships that Jake had seen. She was scared, but she was also ready to fight. The platform's weapons were small compared to the Empire's ships, but they were still weapons. All stations, this is Admiral Kekstar. The alien voice came through the communication. System, your time is up. Surrender now, or watch your colonies burn. Amy looked at her commander, Colonel Ben Hayes. He was a tough man who had fought in Earth's last war. His eyes were hard as stone. What are your orders, sir? Amy asked. Colonel Hayes smiled grimly. Open fire. The first shots of the war between humanity and the Zephyrian Empire lit up the darkness of space. The Empire expected a quick victory. They were about to learn that humans were full of surprises. The first battle at Titan Defense Platform lasted only 30 minutes, but it changed everything. Amy Rodriguez watched from her station as human ships fought the alien fleet in ways that no one had ever seen before. Captain Jake Morrison arrived just as the fighting started. His ship, the Endeavor, was small compared to the Empire's massive vessels, but Jake had a plan. Instead of fighting the aliens the way they expected, he did something completely different. All human ships, this is Captain Morrison, Jake said over the radio. Don't fight them like they want us to fight. Be unpredictable. Use everything we have. The Empire's ships moved in perfect formation, like they had done this many times before. Their weapons were powerful, and their shields were strong. But they fought like they were following a book of rules. Humans threw the rule book away. Commander Nicole Baker was in charge of a small group of mining ships near Jupiter. These ships weren't built for fighting, but Nicole had an idea. She loaded them with explosives and sent them flying straight at the Empire's biggest ships. Baker, what are you doing? Asked her second-in-command, Lieutenant Dan Phillips. Something they won't expect, Nicole replied. These mining ships are tough. They're built to survive in dangerous places. Let's see how they handle this. The mining ships crashed into the Empire's vessels like flying bombs. The aliens had never seen anything like it. Their shields were designed to stop energy weapons, not ships full of explosives. 3 of the Empire's largest ships were badly damaged. Admiral Kekstar watched in shock as his perfect formation fell apart. What are these creatures doing? He asked his officers. They're destroying their own ships. They appear to be using suicide attacks, Admiral, replied his aide. This is not normal warfare. Admiral Kekstar had fought many battles against many different species. Some were strong, some were smart, but all of them followed the same basic rules of space combat. They tried to protect their ships while destroying the enemy's ships. Humans were different. They didn't care about protecting their ships if destroying them could hurt the enemy more. Back on Earth, General Peter Cole was getting reports from the battle. The news was both good and bad. The human fleet was much smaller than the Empire's fleet, but they were winning some fights by being creative. How many ships do we have left? General Cole asked his aide. 147. Ships that can fight, sir. The Empire has over 3,000. General Cole looked at the numbers on his screen. In a normal war, these numbers would mean certain defeat. But this wasn't a normal war. Get me Dr. Kevin Wright, the general said. Dr. Wright was Earth's best scientist when it came to studying alien technology. He had been looking at pieces of Empire ships that had been shot down in the early battles. Doctor, what can you tell me about their technology? General Cole asked. Dr. Wright looked excited despite the serious situation. General, These aliens are very advanced, but they're also very predictable. All their ships are connected by a communication network that uses quantum entanglement. It's amazing technology, but it has a weakness. What kind of weakness? If we could disrupt their communication network, their ships couldn't coordinate with each other. They would be like a body without a brain. General Cole felt hope for the first time since the war started. How do we disrupt it? We need to create a specific type of electromagnetic pulse. Our ships can generate it, but we need to get close to their command ships. While Dr. Wright worked on the technical details, Captain Susan Torres was flying from colony to colony, trying to organize the human defense. She had been a cargo ship pilot before the war, but now she was one of the most important people in the human fleet. Susan's ship, the Fast Runner, was built for speed, not fighting. She used this to her advantage, racing ahead of the Empire's main fleet to warn human colonies about incoming attacks. "This is Captain Torres to New Boston Colony," Susan said into her radio. "Empire ships will reach you in 6 hours. Get everyone to the underground shelters." "Torres, this is Colony Commander Lisa Park. We can't fit everyone in the shelters. We need more time." "I'll buy you more time," Susan said. "Get as many people as you can to safety." Susan turned her ship around and flew back toward the Empire fleet. Her plan was simple but dangerous. She would attack the Empire's scout ships, forcing them to slow down and fight instead of racing ahead to the colony. The Empire's scouts were fast, but Susan knew the asteroid fields around New Boston better than they did. She led them through the rocks, using her knowledge of the area to avoid getting hit while firing at the alien ships. 2. Empire scouts were destroyed in the asteroid field. The others had to call for help from the main fleet, which slowed down the entire attack. Susan's actions gave the colony enough time to get most of its people to safety. When the Empire's main force arrived, they found empty buildings instead of helpless civilians. Admiral Kextar was getting frustrated. Each human colony was harder to capture than the last. The humans kept using tactics that made no sense according to Imperial military doctrine. "These humans are completely unpredictable," Admiral Kextar told his officers. "They sacrifice their ships, they use civilian vessels as weapons, and they fight even when they cannot win. Should we request reinforcements from the home fleet?" asked his aide. Admiral Kextar's pride was hurt. He had conquered 12 different species for the Empire. He couldn't admit that a primitive species like humans was giving him trouble. "No," he said, "we will crush these humans with what we have. They are brave, but bravery cannot defeat superior technology." But Admiral Kextar was wrong. Human bravery, combined with human creativity, was proving to be more dangerous than he had imagined. The Empire's perfect war machine was starting to break down against an enemy that refused to follow the rules. The war was just beginning, and already both sides were learning that this conflict would be unlike any other in galactic history. The war had been going on for 2 months, and Admiral Kextar was angry, very angry. The human colonies were proving much harder to conquer than he had expected. Every time his ships attacked a human settlement, the humans found new ways to fight. Back, the Imperial High Command was starting to ask difficult questions. Why was it taking so long to defeat one primitive species? Other admirals had conquered entire star systems in less time than Kextar had spent fighting humans. "Enough," Admiral Kextar said to his officers. "We will end this war today. Prepare the planet-killer weapons." His aide looked worried. "Admiral, the High Command usually reserves those weapons for the most dangerous enemies." "These humans are more dangerous than they appear," Kextar replied. "They must be stopped before other species learn from their example." The planet-killer weapons were massive devices that could destroy an entire world. The Empire only used them when they wanted to send a message to other species about what happened to those who resisted. Imperial rule. Admiral Kextar chose the agricultural world called Haven as his target. Haven was home to 2 million human colonists who grew food for other human settlements. It was not a military target, but that was exactly why Kextar chose it. "We will show the humans what happens when they refuse to surrender," he said. Captain Dan Phillips was commanding a small stealth ship called the Shadow Runner when he detected the Empire's massive weapon moving toward Haven. The Shadow Runner was designed to be invisible to enemy sensors, which made it perfect for spy missions. "This is Phillips to all human ships," Dan said over the secret radio frequency. "The Empire is moving a planet killer toward Haven. We need to evacuate the colony immediately." But there wasn't enough time. The Empire's weapon was too fast, and Haven had too many people to evacuate quickly. Dan made a decision that would haunt him for the rest of his life. Instead of trying to save Haven, he decided to use his ship's stealth systems to sneak into the Empire's command area and gather intelligence about their future plans. "Sir, shouldn't we try to help Haven?" asked his navigator, Lieutenant Tracy Adams. "We can't save Haven," Dan said quietly, "but we can make sure their sacrifice means something. We need to find out what the Empire is really planning." The Shadow Runner slipped past the Empire's guard ships and got close to their command base. Dan and his crew watched in horror as the planet killer weapon fired on Haven. The entire world disappeared in a flash of light. Million humans died in that flash. But their deaths also did something that Admiral Kextar didn't expect. Instead of making the remaining humans surrender, it made them angry. Very angry. "This is President Lisa Chong speaking to all human colonies," came the broadcast from Earth. "The Empire has murdered 2 million innocent people. They think this will make us surrender. They are wrong. We will fight harder. We will fight smarter. And we will make them pay for what they have done." Dan Phillips and his crew continued their spy mission while the human fleet prepared for its most desperate battle yet. Using the Shadow Runner's advanced sensors, they discovered something terrifying about the Empire's true strength. "Captain, you need to see this," Tracy said, pointing at her screen. "The Empire has been hiding a massive fleet in their home system. 10,000 ships, sir. 10,000. Dan felt his heart sink. The human fleet had fewer than 50 ships left that could fight. Even with all their creative tactics, they couldn't defeat 10,000 enemy ships. "Get this information to Earth immediately," Dan ordered. "They need to know what we're facing." Back on Earth, Dr. Kevin Wright was working day and night on the electromagnetic pulse weapon that could disrupt the Empire's communication network. He had made progress, but the weapon was still experimental. "How close are you to a working prototype?" asked engineer Tracy Adams, who had been transferred to Earth after the Shadowrunner's mission. "Close, but not close enough," Dr. Wright replied. "The weapon works, but it needs to be transmitted from very close to the Empire's main command station. Whoever takes it on that mission won't come back." Tracy looked at the weapon plans on the computer screen. "What if we could make the pulse cascade through their entire network? Could we disrupt their whole fleet at once?" "Theoretically, yes, but the power requirements would be enormous. We'd need a ship to fly directly into their command station and release the pulse from inside their shields." General Peter Cole listened to the scientists' reports with growing despair. The Empire's reserve fleet was coming, and humanity's only hope was a suicide mission with an untested weapon. "We need volunteers," General Cole said. "People who are willing to fly into the enemy's strongest defenses with no chance of survival." Colonel Ben Hayes stepped forward immediately. "I'll lead the mission, sir." "Ben, you have a wife and children," General Cole said. "That's exactly why I have to do this," Ben replied. "If we don't stop the Empire here, there won't be a future for any of our families." Dr. Michelle Hayes, Ben's wife, was also a scientist working on the quantum weapon. She knew that her husband was volunteering for a suicide mission, but she also knew that he was right. Without this mission, humanity would be enslaved or destroyed. "I'll make sure the weapon works," Michelle said quietly. "I'll make sure Ben's." Sacrifice means something. The Empire's main fleet began moving toward human space. Admiral Kekstar was confident that this time the humans would finally surrender. He had destroyed one of their worlds, and now he was bringing enough ships to destroy all of them. But Admiral Kekstar still didn't understand humans. He thought that destroying Haven would make them afraid. Instead, it made them more determined than ever to fight. Captain Jake Morrison, now commanding the last major human battle group, prepared for what everyone believed would be the final battle. His ship, the Endeavor, had been damaged in several fights, but it was still flying. "All human ships. This is Morrison," Jake said over the radio. "We're going to do something that no one has ever done before. We're going to defeat an enemy that outnumbers us 200 to 1. "How, sir?" asked one of his pilots. "The same way we've been winning all along," Jake replied. "We're going to be unpredictable. We're going to be creative. And we're going to be human." The stage was set for the most important battle in human history. On one side, a mighty Zephyrian empire with thousands of ships and centuries of military experience. On the other side, a handful of human vessels with experimental weapons and desperate courage. The galaxy was about to learn what happened when humans were pushed too far. Colonel Ben Hayes sat in the pilot's seat of his ship, the Defiant, as it raced through space toward the Empire's command station. Behind him, Tracy Adams worked frantically on the quantum weapon that would either save humanity or fail spectacularly. "How much time do we have?" Ben asked. "The Empire's main fleet will reach Earth in 6 hours," Tracy replied. "We need to activate the weapon in the next 4 hours, or it won't matter." Ben looked at the picture of his wife Michelle and their 2 children that he kept on his control panel. He had recorded a message for them before leaving Earth, but he hoped they would never need to watch it. "Contact from the fleet," said his communication officer, Lieutenant Steve Carter. "Captain Morrison wants to know if we're ready." Ben pressed the communication button. "This is Hayes. We're as ready as we'll ever be." Jake Morrison's voice came through the speakers. "Ben, you know this is a one-way mission." "I know, Jake. Just make sure you use the chaos we create. Hit them hard while their communications are down." "We will. Good luck, Ben." The Defiant and its escort ships approached the Empire's command station. The station was huge, bigger than any human city, and it was surrounded by hundreds of guard ships. Getting close to it seemed impossible, but Ben had studied the Empire's tactics for months. He knew that they always followed the same patterns. They expected enemies to attack from the front, using conventional weapons and strategies. All ships. "This is Hayes," Ben said to his small task force. "Remember, we're not trying to destroy the station. We just need to get close enough to release the quantum pulse." The human ships split up and approached the station from different directions. Some attacked the guard ships directly, drawing their attention. Others used asteroids and debris as cover, sneaking closer to the main target. Ben's ship, the Defiant, was the fastest and most advanced in the group. While the other ships kept the guards busy, Ben flew straight toward the station's main communication array. "Tracy, how close do we need to be?" Ben asked. "We need to be inside their shields," Tracy replied. "The quantum pulse has to reach there. Main computer core directly. Inside their shields means inside their weapons range," Ben said grimly. "I know." The Empire's guards finally noticed what Ben was doing. Energy beams lit up the space around the Defiant as the alien ships tried to stop the human vessel from reaching the station. Ben flew his ship, like he was dancing with death. He rolled, dived, and spun through the enemy fire, using every trick he had learned in 20 years of military service. "We're hit," shouted Steve Carter, as the ship shook from an energy blast. "How bad?" Ben asked. "Shield generators are damaged. One more hit like that, and we're finished." Ben looked at the station. Ahead of them, they were so close now. The quantum weapon was ready, and Tracy had her finger on the activation button. "Ben, we're inside their shields," Tracy said. "I can release the pulse now." "Do it." Tracy pressed the button. The quantum weapon sent out a pulse of energy that was invisible to the human eye, but devastating to the Empire's communication network. The pulse traveled through the station's quantum entanglement system, like electricity through a wire, but something unexpected happened. Instead of just disrupting the communications, the pulse created a feedback loop. The energy bounced back and forth through the Empire's network, growing stronger each time. Admiral Kextar was on the bridge of his flagship when every screen in the ship went dark. Emergency lights flickered on, but none of the ship's main systems were working. "What's happening?" he demanded. "Sir, we've lost all communications with the fleet," his aide reported. "The engines are offline. Weapons are offline. Even life support is struggling." Admiral Kextar looked out the window of his ship and saw the same thing happening to every other vessel in his fleet. 3,000 ships were drifting in space, like dead metal, but the quantum pulse did something else that Dr. Wright had never predicted. The Empire's communication network connected all their conquered worlds, and the pulse traveled to every one of them. On the planet Trilax, the Empire's control systems suddenly shut down. The Trilaxians, who had been slaves for 300 years, found that their electronic collars were no longer working. For the first time in centuries, they were free. The same thing happened on dozens of other worlds. The Corvani, Estelians, the Vorthic, and all the other species that the Empire had conquered found themselves free from electronic control. Captain Susan Torres was leading the human fleet's final attack when she saw the Empire ships stop moving. "This is Torres to all human ships. The Empire's fleet is dead in space. Attack now." The remaining human ships, fewer than 30 vessels, attacked the helpless Empire fleet. It was like shooting at targets that couldn't shoot back. But the real shock came when ships that looked like Empire vessels began attacking other Empire ships. Susan couldn't understand what was happening until her communication officer picked up a broadcast. "This is Admiral Vexron of the Corvani Liberation Fleet," the voice said. "We are no longer slaves of the Empire. We fight with the humans now. All across the galaxy, the Empire's former subjects were rising up. The quantum pulse had not only shut down the Empire's ships, it had freed every species they had enslaved. Lieutenant Commander Amy Rodriguez, now commanding the rebuilt Titan defense platform, watched in amazement as the Empire's massive fleet became a collection of floating junk. "Captain Morrison," she said over the radio, "are you seeing this?" "I'm seeing it, but I'm having trouble believing it," Jake replied. One weapon just destroyed an entire empire. But Jake also knew that Ben Hayes had paid the ultimate price for this victory. The Defiant had been destroyed by the Empire's guards just seconds after releasing the quantum pulse. Ben and his crew had saved humanity, but they hadn't lived to see their victory. Admiral Kextar watched helplessly as his ship was boarded by human marines. He had commanded the most powerful fleet in this part of the galaxy, and now he was a prisoner of the species he had called primitive. "I surrender," he said when Jake Morrison walked onto his bridge. "You should have surrendered 3 months ago," Jake replied, "before you killed 2 million innocent people." The war was over. The empire that had controlled 47 star systems was finished. Their fleet was destroyed, their communication network was in ruins, and their former slaves were free. But Jake Morrison felt no joy in the victory. Too many good people had died, including his friend Ben Hayes, and something in his gut told him that this war was just the beginning of humanity's problems. The galaxy was a big place, and the Zephyrian Empire was just one small part of it. Other powers would have noticed what happened here. They would want to know about the species that could destroy an empire with a single weapon. Jake stood on the bridge of his ship, looking out at the stars, and wondered what was coming next. 3 months after the war ended, Captain Jake Morrison was sitting in his office on Earth when the alarm started ringing. He had been promoted to Admiral after the victory against the Empire, but the promotion felt hollow. Too many friends had died in the war. "Admiral Morrison, please report to the command center immediately," came the voice over the intercom. Jake walked quickly to the command center, where he found General Peter Cole staring at a large screen showing the outer edge of human space. The screen was covered with red dots. "What am I looking at?" Jake asked. Long-range sensors picked up massive energy signatures coming from the galactic core, General Cole replied. 3 separate fleets, each one bigger than the entire Empire fleet we just defeated. Jake felt his stomach drop. How big? Each fleet has at least 5,000 ships. And Jake, these ships are much more advanced than anything the Empire had. Dr. Kevin Wright was standing nearby, looking pale. "Admiral, I've been studying the data from the Empire's archives. The Zephyrian Empire wasn't a major power in the galaxy. They were barely a minor frontier empire." "What do you mean?" Jake asked. "I mean, the real powers in the galaxy are much, much stronger than the Empire ever was. The hegemony of worlds controls over 2,000 star systems. The Stellar Concordat has technology that makes the Empire look primitive. And the Void Syndicate ... Dr. Wright shuddered. The Empire was afraid of the Void Syndicate. Jake sat down heavily in a chair. "So we just defeated the weakest kid on the playground, and now the big kids are coming to see what all the noise was about." "That's exactly what happened, General," Cole said. "Our quantum weapon sent signals across the galaxy. Every major power knows that a new species has emerged, one that can destroy established empires." Tracy Adams, who had survived the mission with Ben Hayes, was now Earth's top military engineer. She walked into the command center carrying a tablet full of technical data. "Admiral, I've been analyzing the wreckage from the Empire's ships," she said. "The quantum weapon did more than just disrupt their communications. It sent a signal through their entire network, like a lighthouse beacon. Every civilization connected to galactic communication networks knows exactly where that signal came from." "So they know about Earth," Jake said. "They know about Earth. They know about our technology. And they know we're dangerous." Tracy replied. Captain Susan Torres, now commanding Earth's rebuilt defense fleet, joined the meeting. "How much time do we have before they arrive?" "The closest fleet will be here in 2 weeks, General Cole said. "The others will arrive within a month." Jake looked around the room at his fellow officers. They had won the greatest victory in human history, but that victory had doomed them to face an even greater threat. "What do we know about these new enemies?" Jake asked. Dr. Wright activated a holographic display. "The hegemony of worlds is a democratic alliance of over 50 different species. They're coming to investigate whether we're a threat to galactic stability. The Stellar Concordat is a religious empire. They believe in bringing order to the galaxy through conquest. They're probably coming to convert us or destroy us." "And the Void Syndicate?" Jake asked. "The Void Syndicate is a criminal organization that controls entire star systems. They're coming because they want our quantum weapon technology. They'll probably try to steal it or destroy us to prevent others from getting it." Amy Rodriguez, now commanding the Titan defense platform, spoke up from the communication screen. "Admiral, what are our options?" Jake looked at the data on the screen, showing the approaching fleets. Earth's military had been rebuilt since the war, but they only had about 100 ships. Against 15,000 enemy vessels, they had no chance in a conventional fight. "We have 3 options," Jake said. "We can surrender and hope they're merciful. We can fight and probably lose. Or we can try to do what we did to the Empire." "The quantum weapon?" Tracy asked. "Admiral, I don't think it will work again. These new enemies will be prepared for it. They've seen what it can do." "Then we need something new," Jake said. "Something they won't expect." Dr. Wright looked thoughtful. "What if we don't fight them at all? What if we try to turn them against each other?" "What do you mean?" General Cole asked. 3 different fleets are coming to Earth. They're not allies. The hegemony wants to protect galactic peace. The Concordat wants to conquer us. The Syndicate wants to steal our technology. What if we could make them fight each other instead of fighting us? Jake considered this idea. "It's risky. If we fail, we'll have all 3 fleets attacking us at the same time. If we do nothing, we'll have all 3 fleets attacking us anyway." Susan pointed out. 2 weeks later, Jake stood on the bridge of his flagship, the New Endeavor, as the first alien fleet arrived. The ships were beautiful and terrifying, with technology that made the Empire's vessels look like toys. "This is Admiral Morrison of the United Colonial Fleet," Jake said into the communication system. "Welcome to human space. This is Fleet Admiral Zoran of the Hegemony of Worlds," came the reply. "We are here to investigate the destruction of the Zephyrian Empire." "We're happy to explain what happened," Jake said. "But I should warn you, 2 other fleets are approaching. It may not be as peaceful as you are." As if on cue, the stellar Concordat fleet arrived. Their ships were massive and covered with symbols that looked like religious writing. "This is Cardinal Admiral Vexfer of the Stellar Concordat," boomed a new voice. "We claim this system for the glory of the Concordat. All species here will submit to our rule." The Hegemony Admiral's response was immediate. "The Concordat has no authority here. This is neutral space." "There is no neutral space," the Concordat Admiral replied. "There is only the light of the Concordat or the darkness of chaos." Jake smiled grimly. The plan was working. The 2 fleets were already arguing with each other instead of focusing on humanity. Then the 3rd fleet arrived. The Void Syndicate's ships were dark and menacing, with weapons that looked like they could destroy planets. "This is War Master Cole Thick of the Void Syndicate," said a voice that sounded like grinding metal. "We want the quantum weapon technology. Give it to us, and we will leave you alone. The Syndicate will not dictate terms here," Admiral Zoran said. "The Syndicate serves the darkness," Cardinal Admiral Vexva added. "We will not allow them to corrupt this system." Jake watched as the 3 fleets began to position themselves for battle. His plan was working perfectly. The galaxy's 3 most powerful forces were about to fight each other over Earth, and humanity would be forgotten in the chaos. "All human ships, this is Morrison," Jake said over the secure channel. "Move to the edge of the system. Let them fight each other." The 3 alien fleets began shooting at each other with weapons that lit up the entire star system. Jake had never seen such destructive power. Each of these fleets could have destroyed humanity easily, but they were too busy fighting each other to worry about the humans. The battle lasted for 3 days. When it was over, all 3 fleets had been badly damaged. None of them had enough ships left to conquer Earth. But Jake knew this was only a temporary victory. The galaxy was full of other powers, and now they all knew that humanity existed. A quantum weapon had announced humanity's presence to the entire galaxy, and that announcement would bring more enemies. "Admiral," Tracy said as they watched, "the damaged alien fleet's retreating. We bought ourselves some time, but not much. They'll be back with reinforcements." Jake nodded. "I know. But now we have something we didn't have before. What's that? All eyes? Jake pointed to his communication screen, which was showing messages from dozens of different species. The Trilaxians want to join us. So do the Corvani, the Stellians, and all the other species we freed from the Empire. Dr. Wright looked up from his analysis station. Admiral, there's something else. The quantum weapon didn't just free the Empires. Slaves. It sent detailed information about our technology to every species in the galaxy. Some of them are interested in trading with us. Trading what? General Cole asked. Knowledge, Dr. Wright replied. There are species out there that have been fighting the hegemony, the Concordat, and the Syndicate for centuries. They want to learn how we destroyed an empire with one weapon. Jake realized that humanity's situation was more complex than he had thought. Yes, the quantum weapon had attracted the attention of dangerous enemies, but it had also attracted the attention of potential friends. What about Earth's defenses? Susan asked. We can't rely on our enemies fighting each other forever. Tracy smiled for the first time in months. I've been working on that. The quantum weapon was just the beginning. Now that we understand how galactic communication networks work, we can do much more than just disrupt them. Such as, we can take control of them. We can make enemy ships think their commanders are giving different orders. We can turn their own technology against them. Jake felt a spark of hope. How long until you have a working prototype? 6 months, maybe less if the Trilaxians help us. Their knowledge of quantum physics is much more advanced than ours. Amy Rodriguez's voice came through the communication system from Titan Defense Platform. Admiral, we're getting reports from our deep space scouts. More alien fleets are heading this way, but they're smaller groups. It looks like different species are coming to talk, not to fight. Some of them want to J.